Haunted prisons are a popular subject of folklore and ghost stories due to their dark, tragic history. These locations often carry a reputation for being hotbeds of paranormal activity, as they housed immense human suffering, violence, and death. Here's a rundown of some of the most infamous haunted prisons, and the common themes that surround them. Eastern State Penitentiary, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, USA. Built in 1829, this prison is known for its harsh treatment of inmates. It was one of the first to implement solitary confinement, which drove many prisoners to insanity. Hauntings. Visitors and staff have reported eerie sounds such as disembodied whispers, footsteps, and even the ghostly image of prisoners pacing their cells. One of the most infamous stories is of Cell Block 12, where people hear echoing laughter and eerie apparitions. Al Capone was imprisoned here and reportedly haunted by the ghost of a man he murdered, whom he claimed to see while locked in his cell. Alcatraz Federal Penitentiary, San Francisco, California, USA. Located on an isolated island, Alcatraz was one of the most notorious prisons in the U.S., housing infamous criminals like Al Capone and the Birdman of Alcatraz. The prison was known for its harsh conditions and numerous failed escape attempts. Alcatraz is famous for cold spots, disembodied screams, and phantom cell doors slamming shut. Cell 14D, a solitary confinement cell, is particularly infamous for its paranormal activity. Prisoners would report strange experiences while isolated here, with one even claiming to see a glowing, red-eyed figure before his death. The spirits of tortured prisoners are said to roam the halls, particularly in the areas of solitary confinement, where many met gruesome fates. The Tower of London, London, England. One of the oldest and most famous prisons in the world, the Tower of London was used for hundreds of years as a place of imprisonment, torture, and execution. Many historical figures were imprisoned and executed here, including Anne Boleyn, the second wife of King Henry VIII. The ghost of Anne Boleyn is one of the most famous hauntings. She is said to roam the grounds, holding her severed head. Other apparitions include the Princes in the Tower, two young boys who were allegedly murdered in the tower and whose ghosts are said to be seen playing around the grounds. Besides Anne Boleyn, ghostly sightings include Lady Jane Grey and Sir Walter Raleigh. Old Charleston Jail, Charleston, South Carolina, USA. This prison operated from 1802 to 1939 and was known for housing the worst criminals, including pirates and Civil War prisoners. It was also the site of numerous executions. The most famous ghost is that of Lavinia Fisher, America's first female serial killer, who was executed here. Visitors claim to hear her ghostly voice screaming from her cell, or see her wandering the hallways. Lavinia Fisher's spirit is particularly active, with many claiming to hear her cursing or feel her presence near the execution sites. 5. Kilmainham Gaol, Dublin, Ireland. Opened in 1796, Kilmainham Gaol housed many Irish revolutionaries and was the site of several executions. It played a significant role during the Irish struggle for independence. Hauntings. Visitors report feeling cold chills and seeing shadowy figures in the corridors. Many claim that the energy of the prison is oppressive, particularly around the areas where executions were carried out. Notable ghosts. The spirits of political prisoners are said to linger, and there have been reports of the ghost of Joseph Plunkett, one of the executed leaders of the 1916 Easter Rising, wandering the grounds. Haber 6, West Virginia Penitentiary, Moundsville, West Virginia, USA. This Gothic-style prison was notorious for overcrowding, riots, and violent deaths during its years of operation, 1876 to 1995. The prison's execution chamber, where many criminals were hanged or electrocuted, adds to its dark history. Ghost hunters and visitors report hearing screams, footsteps, and doors slamming shut. The Sugar Shack, an area known for violence between prisoners, is said to be particularly haunted, with shadowy figures and strange noises. The spirits of both guards and prisoners are said to haunt the site, with reports of an especially aggressive, malevolent entity in the prison's North Hall. Port Arthur, Tasmania, Australia. Once a brutal penal colony, Port Arthur housed convicts under extremely harsh conditions from the 1830s until its closure in 1877. Many prisoners died due to illness, mistreatment, or execution. The site's haunted reputation stems from the high number of deaths. Visitors report ghostly figures, the sound of chains dragging, and strange lights appearing at night. The separate prison, used for solitary confinement, is said to be particularly haunted. The spirits of both prisoners and guards are said to linger, with eerie occurrences documented in the solitary confinement areas. Themes in haunted prisons. Many hauntings are linked to the terrible treatment prisoners endured, such as solitary confinement, torture, and executions. These places are seen as spiritually charged due to intense suffering. Many reports suggest these prisons retain a residual haunting, where events replay themselves, such as phantom footsteps, screams, or apparitions of prisoners pacing. Prisoners who experienced madness or breakdowns during their incarceration may be the source of poltergeist-like activity, with objects moving or an overwhelming sense of dread in certain cells. Murders and unexplained deaths often lead to the belief that the restless spirits of the wronged prisoners or guards remain trapped within the walls.